All right, gentlemen, good afternoon. We appreciate you being here. I got Marcus Fitz and Erik Umphery. If I'm saying that right, I'm probably tearing that up. Erik.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
Erik.
Erik Umphery.
Hey, Erik
Umphery.
All right, I was almost right. Phil Harp stunting on us with like Aruba / Mexico / Miami Beach in the background, and Reggie Harrison clarifying for us that he's an elite athlete because he's showing off his bike in his room. So we already know what that means. We already know what that means. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today.
I'm relegated to the basement. I gotta stay down here. That's all.
Hey man, that's right. Hey, know your place. Go where you're told. I'm a smart husband like that myself. I'm not at the house, so you know I'll pay attention to it. So thank you, gentlemen.
Hey, keep Batman too.
We have had many different series in our summer lunch series. We closed that out on Thursday. This is a new series we call the Let Out because it's end of week, slowing it down, winding down, and we just want to have a discussion with gentlemen and speak what's on your mind. And today we're talking about running while black. This is a discussion that Reggie and I actually started talking about on another panel. And Reggie made a comment referencing that his wife needed to make sure she tracked him when she ran. I knew exactly what he was saying because I'm sure we have all, in some way, shape, or form, with the loved one, got into this. So I want to get into it. And obviously, there's a lot going on in the world right now. I had a discussion on Thursday, and we got into Jacob Blake and other discussions. Obviously, Ahmaud Arbery is very fresh on all of our minds, and I want to talk about it. So, Reggie, since you started that discussion, man, why don't you finish that statement that we didn't get a chance to talk about that day, and then we'll jump around a little bit.
Yeah. So you mean about the having to get tracked while I'm running?
Yeah. What you meant by that, in the sense of you're going for a run, you just want to stay focused, but obviously the wife specifically has a need to understand where you are in the world.
Sure thing. So for endurance training, you're often out on the road, pavement, wherever, for long periods of time. Sometimes it takes you through obscure roads, paths, etc., places, neighborhoods, places that you don't. And so during the thick of training, my wife tends to be pretty adamant about, asking me for, ETA, how long do you plan on being out there? Okay, then what's the cushion? Okay, so then when should I send, help if I haven't heard from you by? And that was working for a while, but then shortly thereafter, it became a situation of, no, I need to track you live because anything can happen out there on the road. You get a flat tire, you get fatigued, you have to detour from a road that's blocked off or something. And so coming back and having to be accountable as a husband for, hey, sorry, I didn't actually have my phone out to be able to, tell you, what explicitly happened to change me off course. It became a lot easier just to track. And I think for her own peace of mind, I didn't realize how much so that she really relied on that ETA and how heavily she tracked to it. So if I wasn't, if I told her I would be gone for an hour and a half and I was gone for an hour and 45, I didn't realize in that 15 minutes, she's kind of going through a little bit of panic. And with the recent public events of Ahmaud Arbery, that discussion just got amplified that much more so. And so what I shared on the last panel was shortly after the story of that situation broke, my line brother contacted me and was asking me all these questions, for the most part, asking me exactly the same thing that my wife would ask. What are you going to do differently? Convince me that you're going to be safe going out there to run. How do you prepare? And obviously tracking is one of those things that I do to prepare, but it just became this conversation around how accountable we have to be and how proactively responsible we have to be just to go out for a simple run or a bike. And that's in a lot of ways pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, navigating this world as a black man. Marcus, what are your thoughts? I know you are a superior athlete, also gracing the cover of magazines. Congrats, big up. But tell us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I didn't. I guess fortunately, I haven't had an experience to deal with regarding like my safety. We've had like women in our group or women that I've trained with that have worried about it. And so we make sure that there's an accountability partner and a safety partner and that nobody's out biking alone. But as a Black man, like fortunately, I haven't felt the need to do that yet in DC or Maryland. I went to school in Atlanta, so I can definitely, understand the region and the environment will definitely shape your mindset for action. But I think it's something that we should all think about. I think one of the easiest things that I think about is making sure that I look like I'm participating in whatever activity that it is, whether I'm cycling or whether I'm running. I make sure that I look like a runner, that I'm visible, or like I look like a cyclist and I have lights or, a helmet and everything that signals to somebody that I'm enjoying a workout and I'm not a threat and I'm, going from point A to point B. And I think that's the one thing that I make sure that I do outside of that. I don't necessarily do the tracking. Most of my stuff's private. So maybe it's something I should consider and think about in the future.
Erik, I like to get your feedback on this also. I mean, Marcus just referenced in the sense of looking the part, right? Is that enough, right? Is that enough in this day and age? And when I say this day and age, hopefully it would be better today in 2020 on the 28th of August than it was, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. What a sad state of affairs that we have to put on the uniform, put on the outfit to do whatever we need to do, which sometimes is a hindrance for me. Reggie won't allow me in this form to call myself a baby runner, but clearly I'm among some real runners, so we'll leave that alone for the time being, Reggie. But, one of my hindrance is easily the additional things I have to do to prepare. If it's easier for me to just get up, put on some shoes and go, it will allow me to, continue to stay as consistent as possible. So what are your thoughts there, Erik?
So it's interesting. Like I've been running since I was about 25 and I got into endurance sports around that time. And when I initially got into it, like I grew up in Baltimore City, the inner city, we wore baggy gym shorts. And so when I was first started running, like I ran in baggy gym shorts and hooping shoes. Like I didn't get into the actual gear that it takes because it was something I wasn't going to wear it on a regular basis where I could wear these clothes on a Monday to hang out with my friends and then go running Tuesday morning in like the similar gear versus having specific gear for the activity. And then eventually as I got deeper into it, I started getting the gear just for performance reasons.
Right.
I wasn't getting it to look apart. I was like, well, if I'm going on a 30-mile bike ride, hooping shorts ain't going to feel as good as padded shorts. So I'll spend the money on that. And if I'm going for a long run, having short shorts actually helps me better versus having baggy or hooping shorts type of thing and having the right shoes. So that kind of drove me to get the proper gear. And it's just frustrating to know that if I don't look the part, and I used to travel a lot for work and I still do now. I would show up in different towns and the first thing I want to do is go for a run. And it was always frustrating. If I didn't look the part, like the looks and the stares I would get from people on the street, if I'm running in the evening and I'm in a downtown area and I'm running by people, certain people flinch and jump and, you see them clutch their purses and different things like that. And I'm just like, but if there's someone, a Caucasian person or a woman or a Caucasian woman running, like no one's flinching, nobody's moving out of the way and looking at you crazy. It's just like, it's unfortunate. And I have found a way, I just like block it all out. I'm like, I'm gonna go do what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna block out everything else that happens because I'm doing something that I enjoy. Even cycling, like now I'm here in Georgia and I go cycling on a Silver Comet and I have like, the nicer bike and I'm wearing the gear, but I'll be out there on my bike by myself and I can still get the looks from like a group of white cyclists, kind of like, why are you out here cycling, like this thing for you type of thing. It's frustrating. It's definitely frustrating to me. And then just to tie back to Ahmad, when that happened, it like really affected me personally because I just felt like he's out running and he stopped to look at really, like he may be been in the real estate interested, stopped to look at the house, didn't steal anything, did nothing wrong other than being black to these people. And he gets murdered for that. Like hunted down like an animal and murdered. And I just thought to myself, like, I just saw so much of myself in him. I'm still impacted by it. Like every time I think about it. So
yeah, it's it's crazy in the sense of I think anybody that runs can put themselves in that scenario. I know for me, just being very aware of your surroundings, just for safety purposes related to automobiles, right? There's a lot of distracted drivers. You can be on a certain road and watching somebody not paying attention coming at you, and a lot of things that you just want to be aware of in the sense of audio and visibly, with your peripheral vision and things of that nature. So on top of that, having to, again, navigate what else, what other nefarious spirit might be in the world coming at you because you don't look the part, or someone is believing that you're in a space that you should not be, which is ridiculous. We had that discussion the other day. Phil, Harp, Erik was speaking about, having the right gear, and since you have dogged me on several occasions about not wearing the right sneakers, which is a thing in itself, right? I say what brothers running, especially for those trying to get into this, we have to ease people into this because sometimes people have to remember that, when folks say tennis shoes or kicks, that they actually are tennis shoes, or they were made for tennis, right? Or those are some soccer kicks, and those were literally made for soccer, not just rocking with your jeans and your your camouflage shorts or whatever they are. We are getting new to this at times, and everybody did not start at a certain age. So Phil, what do you think, man? I know you are having certain scenarios where you have loved ones checking on you. I know you're in an area of the world that I'm concerned at sometimes, depending on where you're running, what time you're running, things of that nature.
Yeah. So to expand on that a little bit, I live in Forsyth County, Georgia, which has kind of a historical reputation for not being friendly, to oversimplify it. So when I first started running, I had a friend who owns a running store, and he gave me the same speech about, look, what are you running in? Why are you trying to run in those big? I had some Reebok pumps I was running in when we first started getting started. So this is how far back that was, and he's like, you can't really run in those. It's not looking the part so much as what are you trying to wear to make sure that you can train the way that you want to train. And for me, the complication has been, if I want to train the way I want to train, if I've got a lot of miles and I got to get them in the morning, I can't wait till the sun comes up. I can't wait till everybody can see me and be comfortable with assessing that I'm a runner. And I got to be out before the sun comes up. I got to wear something reflective. I might have to run in an area that's not familiar. I might want to vary my route up. So, there's really nothing you can do about that. And I don't know that we should have to try to make everybody feel comfortable. Like, we run. That's what we do. We train, we bike. We do the same thing that everybody else does. And so, I don't know, for me, I guess my wife runs also. We don't always run on the same days in the morning. So she's checking on me, I'm checking on her. But I mean, we're gonna be out here. This is our space too. And we've earned this. And so, it just bothers me that you even have to have this conversation about, do I look right for somebody else to think that I've, satisfied their preconceptions about who should be out here. So I'm just going to be out here. That's it. So I do make sure that I have the right gear. I make sure I'm hydrated. I make sure I'm reflective. People turning right off the stoplight, see me, without looking. But I'm going to run. And that's kind of it.
Yeah, that's interesting when you say it, vary your route, because if I'm running, I am the type of runner that I can't do treadmill. I know some of you, I know Reggie does some training internally, I think, on his bike. And I'm not into that yet. He says I will be at some point, but I know running for me, I can't do the treadmill. It just doesn't, mentally, it doesn't work for me. I need outside visual cues. So can I get to that hotel? Can I get to that next pole? Can I get to that? So to your point, Phil, varying my route might absolutely, right? I'm used to running this route and I'm very familiar, and all of a sudden I want to pick up a mile or two because I'm feeling better that day, I'm feeling stronger that day, or I need to cut a route if I'm not feeling as strong, and I'm taking another route in the course that I don't want to feel like I am in danger because I'm not familiar with this area when there's open road everywhere. And another thing, and I'll open it up for you gentlemen. Another thing that I found, at least when I was really doing well, I will blame it on the baby, as at least Reggie and Phil know. We have a 5-year-old who believes he's an 11-year-old, and when he came along, he's 5, so I probably should not be using this excuse anymore. But when he came along, he kind of threw all of us off. I was racing at least 5Ks every other week, maybe at least every 3 weeks. I was racing, and I was really getting into it. And the what I learned about that is, for me, it was very helpful to know I had something coming up, because it was an incentive, and it helped me be disciplined because I needed to be ready for Saturday, right? So anything in that path I needed to try to eliminate, whatever it was. If it was work or whatever, I had to get it in. So to your point, Phil, if I'm wanting to run in the morning, it doesn't happen. I might need to run in the afternoon or in the evening. But everything is against you in that, I have found, right? People that care about you, they legit are concerned. Hey, man, it's, my wife, hey, it's like 98 degrees out there, right? I mean, everything is, or my mother-in-law, oh, it's dark out there. Or, oh, it's about to rain. Whatever it is, there's a hurdle to why are you going to do that? And for me, it almost felt like I had to be a little selfish at times. If I'm giving so much of myself to the family, to the world, to the community, to whatever, I needed to be selfish in those moments to kind of steal that away. And I do. I remember at times, just like walking out the door, I mean, listening to that discussion of whatever the hurdle was, but like, okay, like not even saying, okay, like, all right, let me just continue to walk out this door and get it, because if I don't have, at least for me, if I don't make it happen in that moment, it won't happen.
I mean, I guess I'll say this. You can get a belt that'll let you put your phone in it, and it's just a few ounces more, so it's not going to slow you down that much. If you really want to have a check-in point periodically during your route, you can do that. But do that for your loved ones. Don't do that because whites were out here tripping about you being out on the street. It's like, don't do it for the wrong reason. Your loved ones will, stay in contact with them. But, if you're trying to do 6 miles before the sun comes up, that's the only time you get to do it. Or if you're trying to get 10 or 20, or y'all gentlemen biking, I mean, I don't even know how long it takes to bike 40, 80 miles, but, for the training routine, that's what you got to do. So again, just do it. I mean,
yeah.
I'll say.
Oh, my fault.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, finding functional apparel helps. Like for the phone situation, like I never ran with a phone until kind of like all this started happening. And here's my little plug with Lululemon. Lululemon wasn't the first brand to come out with shorts with pockets in the thighs. But when I started using them, like I could easily put in, my phone into the thigh pocket, and it wouldn't be bouncing around. It wouldn't get in the way. It wouldn't interrupt my workout. So though finding stuff that works and that we can share amongst our community, so that you can like train better and be safe and be able to stash your keys, be able to stash a phone, be able to stash, I don't know if you need a knife in a certain area. I don't want to like promote weapons and stuff, but if you need it, that it won't disrupt your workout.
Yeah, I was kind of looking
Erik,
around here.
No, Reggie got.
I
Go ahead,
was
Reggie.
gonna ramble. To that point, like, so what I was looking around for was, so I released a series of Instagram stories right around, again, this is shortly after Ahmaud Arbery. And again, a lot of people responded back and gave me some support and feedback. Another friend of mine actually reached out and like kind of blessed me out. And because there was one point that I made there. So in the stories, I went through sort of, these are the regimens that I go through. These are the things that I think about in preparation for a run or any kind of long distance kind of training session. And one of them was, to your point, Marcus, like I don't run with my phone. I don't run with, I don't even really run with a water bottle, just because I don't want anything in my hands. And so you take that point, and then one of the other points I mentioned was I like to go on routes that are where I'm sort of seen as a regular and, you know, kind of a familiar face. And so one of my guys who's, you know, military background, he thinks very defensively, he thinks, again, very proactively. He was like, number one, you're becoming predictable, so somebody can ambush you. And then number two, he was like, I know you don't want to hold anything. And this man mailed me, and I think I have it down here, but he mailed me like this wrist sort of band, but it unbuckles and exposes a knife. And that's for a, you know, I mean, it was exactly, this is right up his alley. This is definitely his personality. And I put it to use that day. Not that I had to use it, but I actually started using it or just taking it with me simply from a, you know, it'll afford me potentially, you know, 10 more seconds to get out the way if I got into a situation. You know, I don't believe in running and carrying because I'm nervous that this is the exact issue, right? If something happens, guess what? The headline can say that I had something on me, whether it was legitimate or not. And so there's all these, and this kind of goes to the point with you, Phil, like I'm like, part of me gets so caught up in anger saying that I don't want to have to deal with these conversations. But the reality is that if I stand on that, like I put myself at risk. And so how do I juggle between the two in a way that I feel like I haven't compromised, you know, my pride, but at the same time, like it gets my ass home, you know what I'm saying? And you can't really, well, you hate to think of it that polar and that extreme. But if you look around, like that's the circumstance right now, that's the environment. And that I'd rather prepare for the extreme and just have to, you know, and be able to live like under it, right? And just basically make myself get back home. So you're right, there's all kinds of different apparel, there's all kinds of different ways to accommodate being able to give that peace of mind to the people that are, you know, you're accountable to. But I'm probably getting to this later, but you know, if this is supposed to be an outlet for me, like I'm taking a whole lot of stuff. Like it's a lot of heavy thought that goes into, like this supposed to be catharsis, not an additional thing to manage. And so the whole time, I should be focusing on my breath control and, you know, hitting these hills and high knees and, you know, my cadence and, you know, don't let my heels kiss the pavement and all these different things that from a performance perspective. What I'm also doing is, when I see this woman coming up, let me make sure about, you know, 20 meters ahead, you know, ahead before I get there, that I yell out, hey, you know, I'm coming. And I almost make myself look like a buffoon, right? Like almost comical, like a caricature of myself, just to say that, hey, I'm not menacing and I'm not intimidating and you shouldn't feel threatened, just so I can walk by. And like a little piece of me just feels like, man, why did I even have to do that? And now I'm not focused, and it becomes this constant cycle. So there's definitely this constant warring back and forth that happens, and you carry that in addition to trying to endure the heat, endure the hills, and it can be pretty weighty.
Erik made a comment earlier, and Reggie, you just made a comment also. You all were referencing running by people and things of that nature. First of all, you and Erik are probably at a speed where somebody should be concerned, right? Because you are like blazing, and to the world watching,
that's Marcus.
Don't believe the hype that Reggie is not carrying a water bottle because he doesn't want to, or a phone that he don't want to. He's not carrying a water bottle because I think he's made out of bolts and nuts and robotic equipment. That's why he's not carrying it.
Vibranium.
He doesn't need water. He doesn't need water in his life. So,
you guys
and also,
way too
Erik,
kind.
before you jump in, Marcus, let me give you a little. I didn't know much about Lululemon at all. I didn't know they have menswear at all. What interesting story about Lululemon. I mean, I've seen the stores, I've seen the outlets, things of that nature. My wife visits the outlets. You know, we start talking about it, and I'm looking at these receipts and like, yo, what's up? And she's like, well, you know, it's outlets. I'm like, yo, there's a lot of Lululemon on here. What the crap, you know? And it's outlets, right? That's what she's like. It's the outlet price, like chill, right? I'm like, you know, and this has happened a couple of times. And then one morning we woke up to run, and she had on this Lululemon, and I was like, Okay.
Yeah, you keep getting that.
Right. Here's a couple extra bucks. Right.
So I don't have nothing to say about Lululemon at all anymore. It is okay with me. So go ahead, Erik. Didn't mean to interrupt, sir.
No, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, and my wife, she definitely worries about me whenever I say I'm going out to do something, and I don't like hearing everyone talk. I don't do as good a job as I should to give her comfort and ease. I'm like, look, don't you know I'm invincible? I'm gonna be back home, but I need to do more because I mean, just recently, I was out in Mammoth in California a few days ago, and we did a 10-mile hike. But we were up in the hills. I got no signal. Like I called her at 4 a.m. before we got out there, and then from that point on, she didn't hear from me again until 8 o'clock at night. And so I was talking to one of the people we were on hike with. I'm like, yo, how do you do this when you're away? And they usually go by themselves. And they were like, they got the GPS with a beacon on it that they can be tracked by because phone signals are gone. And so when I finally got to my phone signal, I called my wife. She's like, I've been worried to death about you. I didn't know if you fell off the side of the mountain. And we got 3 kids. And I knew she was like, I could feel at a certain point, like she's going to be worried because I haven't heard. I tried to call her this morning, but she hasn't heard from me all day. And she really doesn't even know where I'm at. I just told her I'm going to Mammoth. I'm going to be on the mountain. And that was like the simplest form of me communicating to her. So like hearing this makes me think like it is a lot that happens to, and just in the world right now, to Black men. And then in addition, now I put on top, I'm going to go do this thing that stereotypically Black people don't do. I need to do a better job of keeping her feeling good about me doing that and knowing that it's going to be okay. And when I'm at home, I try to stay like on the trail. Like we have Silver Comet here, and I do Silver Comet over and over again. But it's something that like we moved from California. When I was in California, it was kind of I just did random places. Like I would get on my bike or go running, and I would make it up as I go. Like there was no route that I was trying to run. Mm-hmm. I was always trying to just see something different, something new. Because if you run a route enough, it becomes way too easy. And you're like, oh, right. I know once I get here, then I'm going this way. And then it became way too easy and it's no longer challenging. So I was always trying to challenge myself. Now that we're in the South, I'm like, let me go to the comment because I know there's going to be people out there at least. And they can be a bit more safe. And I kind of hate that though. Like it's frustrating to me. Because I'm like, I want to go off and explore. And she's definitely not okay with me riding my bike on anything but a trail. But in California, like I rode my bike on the street like it was nothing. Like I would ride all over the place because you get the challenge. Like the trails, it's hills, but it's not really hills. But you get the hills when you're riding on the street and doing all that. And I don't know. I hate that. I feel like I can't do that now where we're at. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Obviously before Ahmaud Arbery, so many names that we could, that we could recognize, unfortunately, so many names. But even in Trayvon Martin, right? I mean, you got a young man just walking in a neighborhood, minding his own business. And again, to Phil's point, somebody believing that you're in a space that you should not be. One of the things I found about running, which again was just wonderfully freeing mentally, is the fact that I found that when I started really running, I could not think about work. Like I tried to think about work and it wouldn't work, right? So I was like, for whatever reason this shield is happening, this is positive, right? And for me, again, I had to get out the door because if I had my phone, which I do usually have my phone on me, if I start texting, if I start reading messages or whatever, it's a wash. I could easily lose a lot of time like that. So I just need to get out. But it was amazing that I literally couldn't think about work. So, having a scenario like Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery, and other, Breonna Taylor just living and sleeping in her own home, these scenarios that are just so ridiculous in the sense of, our lives being taken away. It just makes you reevaluate these things. And to Reggie's point, putting this added mental, baggage and luggage on thinking about all these things that I don't want to think about any of these things. I just want to get out and, again, you know, have that outlet to be free and run and get it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say,
go ahead.
I'll just say quickly, like, running has always been like therapeutic, and everyone I know that runs, it's such a therapeutic thing. Most endurance sports are just therapeutic because it gets you away from everything. Typically puts you out in nature, and it's just you and nature, and it's community, because before COVID, like, I got into running through a running group. And so you had this community that you were building with all these people, and you're all striving to get better, get stronger, get faster, whatever it is, get in better shape. And it made you want to continue to build that community. And I started running, like I said, it was like 15 years ago when I was 25 in Atlanta. And then when I moved to California, I built another community of runners, and just, we ran and we cycled and we did it together. And kind of now with COVID, on top of it, like, that community for me is kind of broken, because it's like, yeah, I kind of want to go running with people, but I got a family I got to think about. So it's just a tough time. And then in addition, when you run in a community, it takes away that apprehension of something could happen to me, because we're stronger in numbers, versus now I'm out there by myself. Who knows what could happen? Especially like after Ahmad, it became like running by myself and being out there by myself in anything. I got to keep that in the back of my mind, and I hate it. I just hate it.
And I think, Phil, you know, I know you're about to speak. What's crazy is, and I want to hear from you all speaking about, you know, Erik just referenced running in groups. So I know you all are interfacing with other individuals, whether they be men, women, and sometimes they're not Black, right? And in that case, they have no idea. They have no idea. This is not their experience. So I'd be interested in, especially with everybody in quarantine, lockdown, post George Floyd, and the world figuring out who we really are. I'd be interested how many people reached out to you, not really thinking about that prior to sitting at home watching this go down and watching people respond. I know I had several people reach out to me, and I know they were trying to figure it out. Go ahead, Phil.
Couple of thoughts on that. I did have people reach out who normally wouldn't have, to kind of check in, and I felt genuinely like, you know, how are you doing? You know, do you feel, are you safe? Are you well? You know, kind of interested in my condition. They still didn't get it, but they knew that they needed to ask a question, so they did, and I appreciated that. I'm a little torn, because for me, running is not easy. So I have to actually, like, when I get up in the morning, I have to really, like, the night before, I have to prepare to get up, and I have to have my stuff set out so that I don't have any time to think about, am I going to go running or not? Everything's ready. I just get up and go. And when I start, it's difficult. And by the time I'm done, I'm really glad that I did it. I have no space in there to be concerned about how the average white person is going to feel about my presence. Like, I just don't. So I can't, you know, and I don't know that that's going to be a safe situation for me or not. I don't know if that's going to have my loved ones in a bad situation sometime or not, but I don't care. Like, I mean, I feel like this is my space. You know, this is an activity that I want to participate in, and it's good for me. And so how dare you, you know, try to make me have to, you know, condition myself to do things for your benefit. This is for my benefit. You know, so that's just how I'm going to take it. Like, I get out of my car in the morning, and, you know, Ahmad really kind of shook me up a little bit too, because, you know, that day was the day after I went running myself. And I just, you know, I was like, well, that could have been me. And I don't really pack. I don't do a lot of things when I'm running. I just run. But that's still how I'm doing it. You know, I don't know if I should do that differently or not, but I feel like this is my space. You know, my people and our people have paid a lot of price for us to be out here and do what we want. And that's what I'm going to do. And if it ends up being the wrong thing, then, you know, Hey, if you're not comfortable with that, I mean, I'm courteous too. Like if I'm passing you, I'll let you know. You know, but I'm not gonna worry about running where I can run because I can't. That's just it. So I don't know. My wife might disagree with that, but but that's. I mean, honestly, that's it though.
Yeah, I think a lot of. Yeah, I think a lot of. I feel that way too. I mean, I run and do all my activities like I belong in that space. Like I'm really not worried about what anybody thinks, but I also try to pay attention to the environment that I'm in. So if I know I'm gonna be like the beginning of quarantine, I was in California, so for a couple months training, and so like if I know there's a one part of Cali where I was in Barstow. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Barstow, but it's not part of town that we should be running through. So I know like my head's on a swivel, and I'm gonna make sure that like I am paying attention to people who don't look like me, because I'm not supposed to be there, or I'm not, I'm out of my element. So I guess it's just paying attention to where you are, but acting like you belong there, and not being in your phone, not looking out of place, not, looking lost. I think being aware of your presence in certain environments definitely helps. So again, just to piggyback off you, Phil.
We about to say something, Reg?
I mean, a lot of thoughts. I remember, so during quarantine, I made a trip to DC. I actually hit up Marcus like, hey, like I need to be with somebody. I need to go train with somebody, because I had been being solo for at that point for a couple of months up into that period. And I think that also is part of the sport that I miss in this specific time period right now. I'm realizing that I do miss the camaraderie of it, right? I miss being out there running and sweating and pushing through limits and all the other philosophically aspiring things, right? Like you're stretching yourself and you're doing your best. But looking to my left and seeing my boy doing the exact same thing and he's getting tired, or looking ahead of me and seeing, because a lot of my training buddies are much faster than me. So I'm looking ahead and I'm trying to like catch them. Like I miss also like that part of the experience. And Phil, I can't co-sign any stronger what you're saying. Is like, man, like this is my spot. Like the word that I used back then was, I felt like I was hijacked. Like the one space, the one area that I've, I don't ask for much, and I'm like, the one time, the one moment, the one investment I have in myself. That's part of how and why the incident with Ahmaud Arbery shook me so much, because I felt like, man, now I've been fully and successfully infiltrated, because now even my peace has been hijacked. And I took offense to that. And now I don't even have a place to go, because we're limited. The people that I would normally go to and talk to, my boys, friends, whatever. Well, guess what? We're socially distancing, right? So I don't even have that outlet to go to. I can't go to my mom, because my mom is very adamant about everybody stay out my house right now. I'm not getting that COVID, right? My wife, I don't want to put the burden on her, because she has to hear all the other elements of life that I throw on her as a husband. And so to throw this responsibility on her as well, to now she has to be my training partner and all this other stuff, that's too much to bear as well. And so I had all these spaces. What I at least had was my outside. And when I felt like that was taken away from me, I won't say dark, but I definitely, I got very unproductive at work. I got very sort of restless just in the house, because, just even when you're training, especially for a race, you start feeling like, man, like, almost guilty when you're not doing stuff. I just felt overall just incomplete. And yeah, my anger, I associated it with just the whole, the environment right now. Like, how dare you, again, to your point, Phil, like, how dare you come into the one thing that it has nothing to do with you, and you're trying to take that too. And it just gets you bubbled up to want to say a lot of different things. And that's what happened. So I know, so with Marcus, like with your your tri team, like, I don't know if you hear about the value and what it brings and what it means to people, but what you've done, to create a team like that is awesome, because there's a lot of people who have that space who need it. And for you to still be able to find a way to continue it and lead it and have people still meet for groups, and whether even the groups may be small or maybe they're miniature pods now, like, don't discount that. Not that you are, but I'm just saying, as an outside looker in, like, kudos to you for having that kind of a structure set up and an outlet set up for people, especially if they look like us, because that's the one place now you don't have to, when you get there, whether it's because you spend a lot of time preparing for the run or doing all of this preset, like we're talking about on this call. When you get there, guess what? Everybody gets it, and you don't even have to go through the motions of having to explain that, or explain why you have the grumpy face, or explain that you're just exasperated for even getting there, because everybody's kind of like, they see you, they give you a quick sort of Wakanda salute, and you get to run in, or getting on your bike and doing whatever. And there's a price for that. There's a value in that. I mean, a lot of people are thirsting for that.
Yeah, I think that's where, like, representation matters in certain sports that we do.
Absolutely.
It's just
Absolutely.
like it's just not putting Black people on the map, but it's making Black people feel comfortable in spaces where they in the past may not have been accepted. So, like, for me growing up, I'm like, putting on a swimsuit or a tight skin suit, I'm like, that ain't for me. I don't see nobody else doing it. I don't know. And then it's like, all right, you see like Cullen Jones, and you see all these, people rising to the occasion and be like, okay, well, maybe it is for me. Maybe I can have fun doing this. Maybe I can go to college, on a scholarship, and I don't have to like pursue, because not everybody wants to do basketball and football. Maybe someone wants to do ice skating or whatever. So, I mean, creating those lanes helps people, dress the part, so they don't look like a threat when they're running. When we're talking about, putting on bibs for cycling, or putting on functional running attire, not running around in like foam posits and hooping shorts, and also, like, it's from a health perspective, it's just not good for your feet. It wasn't made for that. So I think the spaces have helped, but it's been a challenge. I mean, fortunately in DC, we have so many, resources at our disposal, from like, free, easy, accessible like centers where we can get COVID tested. So we can come to practice, be like, all right, I've been checked. I've had multiple tests. I've had antibody tests. Like I'm okay, like, in keeping the groups tight and intimate. Like, all right, we've been training all COVID, all quarantine. So like, we feel comfortable with each other. And that has definitely been a huge benefit that I know a lot of other groups haven't had the opportunity to experience. So yeah, I appreciate that. And it's a process, man. And I think as people grow restless and tired of being quarantined and being inside and trying to train indoors, hopefully that these resources can kind of like translate and transition to other parts of the U.S.
Absolutely. That to your point, representation and relevance, right? I mean, when you talk about Colin Jones or watching any of you, whether it's on social or whatever it is, covers of magazines, right? It's relevant, right? My wife and I have done some work in the STEM space for a long time. And when we were involved in technical symposiums, we would bring astronauts of color in front of kids because we wanted them to see, right? I mean, you can't unsee that, right? Oh, he looks like Reggie. He looks like, Erik, right? He looks like my brother or my uncle, or she looks like my sister or my mother. Those things are important. So people seeing you all in your space, that's important. You're running by somebody that sees you, even though Reggie running the same route every day. Somebody's being predictable. But I'm
working on that. I'm working on that.
Somebody's cheering for you, that's helpful, that relevance and representation. Absolutely. So let me ask you all, and I want to be respectful of your time. We're going to wrap this up, but everybody's not in these spaces as you all referenced, and even if they are, they might just be starting or looking for a way in. Marcus, I'll start with you. What's your recommendation, for a brother on the sideline? He's just trying to find a way in, trying to get motivated. What's your recommendation? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's social media is such a powerful tool. I mean, look on social media, look at meetup groups, look at Facebook groups. You can type in like Black Running Group, in Atlanta, or Black Running Group in DC, and something is bound to pop up. I mean, if that's the first start that I recommend. And that's what I did when I came back, when I moved back from I went to school. I graduated from SCAD in Savannah College of Art and Design.
All right.
And when I moved back, it was like that same bubble. All my friends had left. Everybody it was like a new place. I was like, I mean, it's home, but it's different. So the first thing I did, I went on Eventbrite and I looked at like 5Ks because I was trying to get my health back. I picked up some weight, and I'm like, I broke up with my girlfriend. I'm just like, all right, what can I do to get my life back?
New year, new you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm like, I gotta get healthy. So I found a 5K and that really got me started. And I was rocking with the guys that I did the 5K with, complete strangers, for like the next 6 years. It's that easy. And it's just being able to step outside your comfort zone and just do something different that you haven't done before. Because you're not gonna grow if you do the same thing over and over and over again.
Make sure you send to that magazine cover. Erik, what you say?
So I'll say for me, I was in a similar spot. I started when I was 25. I had never run over a mile probably in my life. And it was the community that got me into it. I was dating this woman and she was like, I want you to run this half marathon with me. And I was like, what? I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And it's like, my wife says it to me now. Like, I'm like, I'm black. Black people don't run that. Like, we do sprints. And so, and back then, there was no representation. Like, I didn't know any black people at all. Social media, I don't know what social media was back then, but it wasn't like Instagram and things like that weren't popping. So I would go to one meeting with her and I see all the people and we go on like a short run. And then afterwards, we all hung out together. And from that point on, I was hooked. I was going to every meetup, every run. And then I did a race, and it was the Atlanta half. And I see all these people, and there ain't a lot of people that look like me out there. It was just all these people, and it was like, I fell in love with it. And what it did to my body and my health was just transformed me. Like, I was working in corporate, super stressed out at the time. I gained a bunch of weight. I got in the best shape of my life, and I was always feeling good and full of energy. And I was like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And then you go out on a race and you see a 70, 80-year-old person out there in front of you.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you're like, that's my goals.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, and just one last piece is that after bringing it back, I keep bringing it back to Ahmad. When Ahmad happened, like, the way I met Reggie is because I did a project where I shot all these black male runners in Atlanta, and we did a video piece and photos of them running and them kind of speaking to it. And just hearing everybody's different story of how they got into running, why they run, and the impact of Ahmad on them was just powerful. And everybody had their different reasons. Like I shot a guy that he's been running with his father since he was like 6 years old. And they've done almost every Peachtree Road race since it started, which is just crazy. So just that, knowing like the bunch, like now me and my son, I have a 6-year-old, we run together. And like, I want to leave like those traditions. I remember I did a 5K in Atlanta and it was like a whole family. Like the mom was pushing the infants, then they had 2 other kids running, and then the mom and dad, and they all finished first place in their age group. Like, it wasn't a big fight. I was like, this is impressive. Like they were all under like low 20s, under 20-minute 5K time. And I was like, this is crazy. So, but just seeing that makes me like wanting to be and wanting to get other black people involved in it. So,
yeah, Reggie taught me a long time ago. Don't slip on these 80-year-old ADOs. Don't slip on that.
Nope.
Hey,
At all.
them folks been fast, and them strollers and double strollers. Don't pay attention to that either. Them folks are fast before they had children. All they doing is pushing some wheels in front of them now. You know?
Exactly.
Right. They got long muscle.
Phil, what do you say, Phil? What do you tell somebody?
The thing I would say is, for me, I wouldn't consider myself to be fast. So, but running has helped me kind of mentally, and it's also helped me in my health, and it's a good community event. Right? Like, I like being around people training. I like setting a goal and achieving it. I like being fit. That doesn't mean fast, as present company. But for people who ask me about that, I would say either just take a step out the door, or if you have a local running store, somebody there is going to be a person who cares about running and will get you on the right track, and there's usually a community around the local running stores, wherever you are. That's been my experience. But give it a chance. It's going to be difficult. Stick with it for a little while, see how you like it, invest some time. And again, back to our earlier point, don't let anybody encroach on that space. Like, if this is something that you really find that you're interested in, then do it. And the rest of it will work out. But it's only been positive for me. Like, I got some goals that I'm still trying to hit, and so that's what I train for. It's only been positive for me. So I would encourage people to do it. And if you can find someone who's interested in doing it also, get them involved. If you join a race, whatever your speed, you're going to find some people with you. They're going to be talking during the race. It's going to be a fun event. You don't have to try and break a record. Just get out there and do something. Short distance, long distance. Your friends are going to be telling you how much better you look in a couple of months. Like, it's just, it's all positive. So just go ahead and do it. And, and that's speed. I mean, I think that this is, you mentioned astronauts, right? And I kind of look at this like that in a certain extent, because us being out there is going to inspire somebody else to do it. And those people are going to have kids like we have kids, and their kids might take to it. And we excel at everything we try to do collectively. So somebody's going to be the next, superstar triathlete. Somebody's going to be just get to college for free. Somebody's going to do something. And that's all important. That all brings us all forward together. So, it's not walking on the moon, but, if we keep doing it, it's going to inspire somebody.
Indeed. Big Reg, what you say?
Man, so I grew up as a swimmer, competitive swimmer, and it's funny, most of my experiences or most of my memories of my father, he would always be telling me about how well he excelled in like track or basketball or football. And I would always think like, man, is he trying to tell me something? Like, is he not proud of me as a swimmer? Like, what's going on? But truth be told, my father was the first multi-sport, athlete that I had ever known. And we connected very naturally around sports. I had a natural like for athleticism. I had to work at it. But I feel like in general, I was generally just overall fit. And I like to think that keeping some level of fitness in my life, so my father has passed. And I feel like that this is, one of my ways that I kind of stay connected to my father and what his legacy has meant, which was investing in yourself and in your health and your fitness. What I would say to many people who are starting out, or even those that are in it and trying to find that next inspiration to keep going, is simply, identify what your journey is, identify what your why is. There's this mantra that has sort of evolved over time around sun chasing, and people hear me talk about it often. And it really emanates from this concept of, everyone has a sun that they're chasing. Everyone has their own journey where different goals for speed, whether it's distance, whether it's even the actual sport you're doing. But whatever that journey is. And actually, it extends even beyond sports. But the idea is do whatever it takes to catch that sun, to actually, in some capacity, go after that sun and in some way finally get to it, and be willing to catch fire. You know, the closer you get to that sun, be willing to catch fire on your way to it. And I'd like to tell people, you know, make sure whatever decision you make is just sustainable. Don't, you know, give yourself some grace, and don't require so much of yourself so quickly involved in the sport, because all that's going to happen is you're setting yourself up for disappointment when you don't reach that goal. And now you have an easy reason to exit out. And I would just say, you know, give yourself some grace. You know, start with literally, before you try to go for a 10-minute pace or a 9-minute pace, go for, hey, I just want to work out twice a week. Go for, I just want to get around the track once. And when you truly do it that way, you'll find yourself having a lot more wins along the way. And a lot, with every win, you kind of give yourself this positive reinforcement to keep going. And that becomes your sort of self-sustaining engine. You know, make your goals attainable, and then you do them well enough, you'll find yourself creating new goals for yourself. And before you know it, it has become a lifestyle. That's been the most rewarding thing that I've seen now that I've sort of publicly made my interest in fitness known, has been the different messages you've had from people and different stories of, you know, hey, you got me interested back in running, or hey, what's that shoe that you're always talking about, which is on running, by the way. But you know, what's that shoe you're always talking about, or what's the, you know, how in the world did you even find a bike and even learn about the sport of triathlon? Well, it's because I saw somebody do it, or whatever the inspiration was, you get to share it. And I think that's been one of the most rewarding things, is seeing how many people have identified one part of your big journey. They found one part of it that inspires them to set off and start their own journey. And that's all you want. You know, it's not for everybody to become a triathlete, or to become a Boston qualifier, or some elite level or performer. The goal is for people to have something that they can actually take and do for life. And for whatever that means to you, you'll get to keep it. And I think that's my goal. And that's what I would recommend people to do, is give yourself some grace, but make healthy living a lifestyle, particularly Black men. There's a false narrative out there that we're unhealthier than we are. And a lot of that's true. But there are also people out here who are making a difference. And I think it's important that we use platforms like this to extend and say, hey, we're out here doing it. Come join us.
Making ourselves accessible. That's what you're doing, Reggie, right? You've made yourself accessible. Somebody can connect with you because of that relevance. They can connect with you and hopefully, like you said, take a piece of that story and encourage themselves. So I see you got your running partner right there. Reggie?
Yeah, she's here. Yeah, she's trying to get in my little lap. She said it's time to get these miles. Whatever, we go for it.
Well,
a 20-minute
walk.
Sure
I kept it to an hour. So I thank you, gentlemen. Grateful for your sharing with us. I know there's a lot of brothers out here and people that love these Black men and care for these Black men and support these Black men that will appreciate this. So thank you all. You all stay safe, stay blessed, and stay well. And we'll continue to have these discussions. So make sure you tell everybody to find out more at blackmenshealth.com, and we'll do it again, gentlemen. All right. God bless. Respect.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.